Believe it or not, the sustainability shift is on. Many of you all around the world are working hard to make this happen. Thank you. Together, we can pave new ways forward.
So thank you very much for all the panelists in the Smart Grid. Very interesting discussions, and we can see that again we hear the words the need for speed, and also that we need to align regulations and ease permitting and so on, not to sub-optimize, but to look at it on a system integration level. And also thank you to Janne to leading us in on the hydrogen topic, which is our next panel. For this panel, I would like to hand over to our moderator, Jukka Räsänen. Jukka has a background from Borealis, and he has also worked 5 years at Neste within innovation, business, and strategy development, and is currently heading the business development for renewable hydrogen and Power2X. A warm welcome to you all.
All right, thank you very much, Klas. And thank you for joining in for this panel, last panel for today on hydrogen and Power2X. And as we've heard, there's a huge potential on the renewable energy in the Nordics. But then there is also a challenge on the ability to harvest this potential to the fullest. And on this panel, we will discuss on the option of hydrogen and Power2X, what role it will play. My name is Jukka Räsänen. As mentioned, I work at Neste developing these options, and I will be the moderator for this event. And I will be joined in by Sebastian Andreasen from Green Hydrogen Systems from Denmark, and then Jörn Dahl from Hexagon Purus. He's a global director for sales and marketing. Richard Berkling from PowerCell Sweden. Richard works as the CEO for this company, and Kati Levoranta from Finland, and Kati is the EVP for P2X Solutions. And please, I will ask each of the participants to introduce yourself and what is your path into the current position, and what is your company's relation to hydrogen and your ambition to achieve in this sector. So I would kindly invite the participants to join in for the session, and maybe we start with Sebastian.
Thank you very much, Jukka, and good afternoon, everybody, and not least also to my colleagues here at the panel. It's a great pleasure to meet you, since we can't meet in person. My name is Sebastian. As said, I'm the CEO of Green Hydrogen Systems. This is a company which is an original equipment manufacturer of electrolysis equipment. So in brief, the equipment that can split water into hydrogen and oxygen and thereby start the journey on renewable energies for the future. My path into hydrogen was actually with a quite, I wouldn't say similar, but also energy related background. I worked 15 years with oil and gas. I have to admit that. So I was very attracted to becoming a part of the solution as well to the climate issues that we face, and therefore a great pleasure to be working with hydrogen. I've been around for a year now with this great little company in Denmark. Thank you, Jukka. Great to meet you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you for joining in. Jörn.
So first of all, very nice to meet you, and good to be here. My name is Jørn Helge Dahl, and I work for the company Hexagon Purus. I've been joining the Hexagon family for almost 8 years, so been in the business for quite a while. Starting already to look at hydrogen project back in 2015, so some years of experience working on hydrogen. Before that, I had a long history working for different companies supplying to the automotive OEMs, then working with metal. So no oil and gas experience, but working with the hard and tough customers. Hexagon Purus today is our pure play for hydrogen business. We listed the company in December last year, so it's a year old. But as mentioned, we started our hydrogen activities before that as part of the Hexagon Composite. And Hexagon Composite is still our majority owner, roughly 75%. Listed on the Oslo Stock Exchange and being a Norwegian company, we still are a truly global company. We are present in Europe, North America, China. So the world is our market, and I think it's fair to say the world market out there is a little bit bigger than the Nordics. So I look forward to discuss how the Nordic can play a part in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jørn. And then moving over to Richard and PowerCell.
Yeah, thank you very much. We move along the value chain here, starting with the electrolyzer and the storage, and now we come to the fuel cell, actually generating the electricity. I'm representing PowerCell. We've been here now for almost a year, coming from the automotive industry, doing a lot of business development in technology shifts within the Volvo Group for quite some time, and joined this because I wanted to not only just sell products, but be part of the solution going forward on this rather massive challenge that we have in society today. As we said, we are a supplier of fuel cell systems, a global actor, viewed to be one of the world leading actors when it comes to having energy dense fuel cell solutions, but also contributing not only by selling products, as I said, we want to also join hands with some of our partners, for instance, Hexagon, but also Hitachi, Siemens and others, to bring down the hurdles of accelerating this transition. Because we talk about speed all the time, and also in the morning session we talk about that. From my perspective, we already have technology available today. So I think that all the participants in the value chain need to accelerate the transition, helping the customers, building the market. That is to me the most important role that we can play, besides of course selling components, but that can be done by anyone. I think that the Nordic representatives, we always strive for a higher purpose and not just sell, but also create value. And I think that's something we share in common, and also very good common ground for collaboration. Also, as a Hexagon listed company since 2009, I think. So very interested to listening to the panel, participating as well, and also learning from all the experts here on the panel.
Thank you, Richard. And then, as mentioned, moving along on the value chain, we still need a hydrogen operator who produces then the hydrogen. So Kati, can I ask you to kindly present yourself and the company?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to join this panel, a very interesting one, and of course very important one as well, because one of the things that we need to, I guess, together do as well are to be the ambassadors of the hydrogen and the energy transformation, and make sure that people will understand what's going on, because sometimes I think we are so let's say advanced in our thinking, if one can say so, that normal people does not keep up with that. So it's very important to also remember that. Anyways, like I said, my name is Kati Levoranta. Nice to meet you all. I come from a company called Power2X Solutions, a Finnish company established about a year and a half ago. A little less than that. I joined the company more or less about a year ago as a partner, and then EVP looking after our customers, partnerships, and so on. But every time when I say that, I also want to make a note that we're still quite a small company, and you know, we do whatever needs to be done at any given moment in order to make sure that we have that speed in execution that we need right now. And we are producing green hydrogen, or we will be producing green hydrogen once our first plant is up and running, 2024, as our plan goes today. And on top of that, obviously, we're looking at the distribution network as well for the green hydrogen, and also the ability to process or refine the green hydrogen to further to, for example, a synthetic methane and additional other products. So that's where we come from and what the company is. My background is very different. I'm not the energy expert in the sense that I would have been 25 years in the energy sector. I actually come from a mobile gaming sector. I was the last 10 years almost 10 years in a company called Rovio, which is a creator of Angry Birds. A very digital native company, obviously. And that is one of the things that I would also like to emphasize more, that we need to think about from the platform perspective, from the digital perspective, the whole transformation as well, that how can we build a system that actually is always optimized. And that's good to keep in mind. These infra projects are heavyweight in a sense that they require a lot of money, and we need to be able to get those up and running, obviously. But at the same time, we need to think about the software that can be, help us to be more cost effective, more efficient in our operations going forward. I also have a long history with Nokia, coming from Finland, who wouldn't, and Nokia Siemens Networks. I've always been in a network side, so used to doing infra projects there, as well as I have worked with Pöyry, AFRY nowadays in infra side there as well. So the infra projects themselves are quite familiar. So with this, thank you and nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Kati. And thank you all for the introductions. I think coming from digital world back to the hydrogen world, one of the challenges that we have is the speed and the urgency that we have for reaction. But regarding the role of hydrogen and it can play in the Nordics, I would like to start asking from Sebastian that what role do you see that hydrogen can play within the Nordics, fulfilling these 2030 targets that we have?
Thank you, Ken. And firstly, let me say I will not pretend to have a crystal ball. So talking about 2030, let's wait 8 years, 9 years to see what is actually the outcome here. But no matter how we crunch the numbers and analyze back and forth, we struggle to land on a scenario where hydrogen, and green hydrogen in particular, will not play a central role. And that is fundamentally driven by two things. Firstly, the need for a rapid reaction to the climate change. And secondly, and you asked specifically here, Jukka, about the role in the Nordics. If you look on an EU level, you will find that in order for the EU to fulfill its role in the Paris Agreement targets, 50% of the CO2 abatement required may be represented by the introduction of green hydrogen. So you can kind of say that whether that is 50%, 60%, or 40%, the role of green hydrogen will be major. And talking about the Nordics, I can't see why that should deviate from the European numbers, really. We see hydrogen with the great characteristics, with its versatility and end-use applications across transportation, Power2X, industries, buildings, heating, etc., as a very versatile and robust energy carrier for the future as well. So a major role in essence.
A major role in essence and great potential for Nordics, but what are the challenges that we face?
There are quite a few. If you look at the wind turbine industry, what they did in 20, 30 years, we need to do in 5. To top that up, the wind turbines, admittedly, it has been a revolution of our energy system already. But I think it's worth bearing in mind that the wind turbines created electricity in a different way, but to a society already running on electricity. Effectively, the end use cases were already proven. Think about hydrogen in the other way. Hydrogen has been around for a number of years. It's already used in great amounts, gray, blue hydrogen, or gray hydrogen in particular, which is the fossil-based hydrogen. But we also need to invest to teach the society and the infrastructure around to run on hydrogen. And it is that kind of hydrogen paradox. We will need to develop the infrastructure required as well. And further, the cost of hydrogen will need to come down. In order to compete with other energy carriers, obviously it will need to become competitive. And in order to do that, we need the cost of green electricity to come down. We also need the cost of the equipment to come down. That's our role. And we also need the efficiency of the equipment to be brought up. Efficiency meaning how much hydrogen you get out of the electricity input. And all that needs to happen in fairly short time.
Yeah, thanks, Sebastian. I think one of the challenges that I see for hydrogen in the novel applications in particular is that you need to develop almost the entire value chain simultaneously to create the demand. What do you see in terms of development of the hydrogen value chain as entity? What is required for this?
I think as an electrolyzer OEM, I'm quite pleased to say that everything starts with how we actually produce the hydrogen molecule. So in that sense, I think our role is kind of the same no matter what happens. But clearly, you allude to it here as well. You can. Some of our colleagues did that as well. This is a value chain that will need to mature and establish itself. It's not working yet. It's not a matter of not kind of letting it work, but simply because of the immaturity of the value chain. And I think my colleagues who will go to talk about their steps in the value chain in a moment will agree with me that in that sense, we are not competitors, we are all colleagues, and we are here to prove that there is an industry here in front of us. I spoke to the Danish Minister to Climate and Energy the other week, and I kind of said to him, you know, it's difficult to see how there will be more hydrogen cars if there are no hydrogen fueling stations, and likewise, difficult for the integrators and hydrogen refueling stations to put up more stations if there are no cars. And that is kind of the hand-in-hand development of the entire value chain we need.
Exactly. And the worst thing that can happen is that OEMs or parts of the value chain are scared off by the risk of investing early into something that there's no off-take for, or being in the middle seat and developing something that is built for no use. So synchronization of the infrastructure build-up and companies working together is essential. But I think also you're hearing from you also that governments play a role also in this and is a driver. So
absolutely.
Moving to Kati, hearing about this, what is required for this proactive action? What is the importance of these first hydrogen projects and being proactive in building the infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, thanks. I think that kind of like referring it a little bit to what was just said about the government's role here as well. I think what we see right now that the governments are actually investing quite a lot in green hydrogen in Europe, in different parts of Europe, and we're talking about like billions of euros. We also have studies showing that the demand of hydrogen will be pretty huge in the next decades. And if we believe that that is the case, we should see business there as well here in Nordics, and our government should also be aware of that and not let us fall behind, because we know at this point of time we still need grants, subsidies in order to set up this whole thing. And then it comes to a point as well, pointed already this chicken and egg problem, that if we don't have green hydrogen production, we will not have transport sector, for example, involved. And the other way around, that there's, you know, if the cars are not, you know, produced, where is the green hydrogen used in transport, then it's not going to be very, let's say, soon over there, unless we all kind of like put our not eggs in the same basket, in a sense that we wouldn't have alternatives, but we need to understand that we need to take a little bit of a risk. We need to lean forward and start taking these actions now, because otherwise we will be late. And the fact is that we have certain advantages clearly here in Nordics, which we should utilize now, because at some point of time we could be exporters of green hydrogen to Europe, and not the one who is then depending on some very expensive green hydrogen later on. So from our perspective, as I said, we are setting up the production plan. At the same time, we are planning how to set up the infrastructure, obviously starting from small, but then hopefully having the market there when the production is already scaled and can be, you know, take into account a better infrastructure for transport sector as well. But anyways, like I said, this is what I see, that we have to take certain risks here and be very proactive in setting up this all together in order to secure that we don't fall behind and get the government on board.
Thank you, Kati. So risk-taking is required, government on board. What do you see? P2X Solution is a young company. So what are the benefits of a startup, and what role can startups play, and how is that different to, for example, compared with larger established energy companies?
Interesting question, because of course there are pros and cons, I would say so. But anyway, startups are usually quite agile. They don't have the deep pockets than the bigger companies usually do have. So they have to be creative, they have to be innovative, and they might be looking at things from a little bit of a different angle sometimes than, you know, the corporations which might have been doing things in a certain way for a longer period of time. So in that sense, that I think that we should be very careful about thinking about how to kind of like combine the understanding of bigger companies and their goals with certain things that startups can bring in the value chain as well. And you know, I believe strongly that in years to come, we probably will see innovations in, especially in the area of digitalization as well, in the energy sector. And I guess it's also good to note that in startups, at least when thinking about our company, you have to start with to some extent, very focused business plan, because you don't have the resources to do everything. And sometimes bigger companies are, you know, they vary, they have different paths and they have different stakeholders. They might have some legacy business behind that they need to take in count. So in that sense, that the startups can be pretty fast in their execution, which is, I think, to some extent advantage in a situation where we are as of today.
Thank you, Kati. And agility, many keywords mentioned there. Having a high focus, and are these the keys, or what is, or your opinion is key for building the new kind of success in new business development? What is the key from your perspective?
I think it always starts with the team. Now you have to have the right team, right people in the team who has the ambitious goal to do something different and are ready to kind of like roll their sleeves and spend a little bit more time than 7.5 hours per day in the business. So I think that's one of the key things. And I guess there is a saying that sometimes, you know, a okay idea can turn into a great business if you have great people behind it. Other way it doesn't work, and you know, a great idea can be ruined with wrong people. But I think the main thing is that you have to be ambitious, and you know that there's going to be a lot of challenges along the way, but you need to believe in your thing, what you're doing, and dare to dream big. I think that's what you need.
Thank you very much, Kati. Moving from this very inside perspective and kind of to then looking from a bit maybe outside in, to Jörn and Ricard. How do you view, can we identify clear national strengths? I mean, the Nordic countries, we are a bit different in some ways, but we have countries with more a different type of infrastructure, different type of businesses in some sense. Can we identify clear national strengths, and are these turned into strategies? How do you view Jörn and Ricard?
So maybe a first answer would be that both Richard and I are living proof of collaborations in the Nordic since we established a joint venture actually 4 years ago. That joint venture has taken us another path now, but that is clearly a way to strengthen Nordic efforts. And also you can easily point to areas where you see collaboration is important. Take the example of infrastructure. It was mentioned that's need to have that in place at least in parallel. And you have, for instance, project like the Nordic Corridor coming with refueling station setup from Germany through Denmark over Sweden to Norway, because of course it doesn't make sense to have a fleet of trucks if you can only do the filling in one country, as an example. So that is at least one point where we see the Nordic strength can play a part.
And I also think that we have a cultural aspect. All countries in the Nordic countries, although Sweden sometimes tend to think that we're bigger. We're small countries, and we have to collaborate. We're used to doing that, and we have an openness, and that's both a curse and a blessing, because we have an openness also towards sharing ideas that sometimes we should protect from a business perspective. But in a technology shift that the one we are experiencing right now, this openness is extremely important, because as Kati was saying, we don't have all the answers right now. We need to have ambitions that are unrealistic, and then we need to join forces in making them realistic as we go along. And I think that's an opportunity we have, and we have a tradition of doing that in the Nordic countries. And I don't think also that we see dependency as a weakness necessarily. We see that as a strength. So we have also cultural and historical aspects that are in favor of us going forward.
How do you view then this collaboration? what are kind of more maybe specific initiatives that would gain from cross-border collaboration? Can you give us some examples? Jörn, you mentioned there your joint venture. Can you maybe elaborate on this more? That how do you see this Nordic collaboration being reinforced in more practical terms?
Yeah, I think it was mentioned from Stefan that we represent the whole value chain here. So you have companies with complementary technology, and to join forces to bring a total solution together would be a keyword for collaboration, I would think.
I agree, and also trying to build what we call the large-scale industrial test beds. I mean, there Norway is a really good example. You have now a tender up in Bodø for the marine applications that will push the whole application build-up, the whole infrastructure build-up, because we need to get technology and products out there to build application knowledge. That is equally important to technology. And I think it's even more important because technology, the companies like ourselves and the colleagues here, we will sort out the technology. We will find the right products and solutions, but we need to build market knowledge, application knowledge, and experience. And if we can do that together, we have a competitive advantage, because just selling products, in the emerging market that we see, anyone can do that. But to actually create value that is sustainable and create the business models that are sustainable, then you need to have experience. And that is something I would like to see go across nations.
And the need for speed is absolutely there, because the rest of the world is pacing up. So if we want to take part in this and be a recognized region as Nordic, we need to pick up the pace as well.
Sea is something that combines us all, and it's nice to hear about this example from you on the marine sector. Do you think that there should be more Nordic joint test beds? So could this be one way, or how would you see that we could enforce collaboration through regulation or other kind of these joint piloting means? Could there also be more collaboration through different means? So do you have what are your views?
If I may comment, I think Sebastian mentioned this as well. Don't think that the competitors in this industry are our colleagues or even different technology solutions. The main competitor is the reluctant to change. The fact that it's still fairly cheap to burn diesel, and the cost of change is a lot. It's emotional to a large extent. So we should encourage test beds across the Nordic countries to build up knowledge, regardless of it being for the hydrogen production, perhaps a benefit for Finland or Norway. Sweden could have something else, but we are driving the whole value chain, and we shouldn't be too protective of that, and instead see the greater picture, because that would accelerate the whole growth. We're not competitors in this. The competitor is status quo.
I agree fully.
And then, as you mentioned, the maritime sector, it's absolutely a part where we could play a role. I think we all have a coastline. Maybe the Norwegian are the longest coastline, but independent of that, we all have a coastline. And in the maritime sector, it's absolutely now an understanding that hydrogen can play a part, and to create this kind of more large-scale testbed to actually showcase the technology, that could be putting the Nordic on the map.
I think maybe just quickly jump in here. I think the way that you, Richard, put it, that the competitor is the status quo, is so spot on. And I quote Netflix CEO, who at some point of time said that for Netflix, the competitor was sleep.
Yeah.
This is exactly that.
Yeah, thank you. I agree fully. Drilling is the enemy, is the distributor, or kind of we should be the kind of lighthouses in some way in the Nordic countries, also in enforcing the switch from the fossil linear economy to a circular economy in many sense, and hydrogen Power2X can play a crucial part in this. And really, when comparing the alternatives, I fully agree. We should not always put these different sustainable solutions against each other, when we still have a big barrier, also an emotional barrier, to move away from the easy fossil solutions that are linear. And therefore we need to kind of be brave prime movers. Thank you all for joining in the panel discussion. I have one bonus question that I wish all of you can participate. Is there some particular renewable hydrogen Power2X based products that you are enthusiastic about or wait to see in your personal life in use?
If I can start, I would love to drive my hydrogen car in my hometown. That would be awesome. Sorry to say, but I don't have the, let's say, need for a battery charging time of 20 minutes or more, especially in the cold Nordics. So that would be the easy answer.
Thank you,
I
Jörn.
go a little bit further with that. I mean, it will be, we see already certain use cases for hydrogen, and I think we could again go a little bit further. I know that there are some food products already thought through to be made out of hydrogen. Why not plastic?
Thanks,
I
Kati.
fully agree, Kati, and I think hydrogen is already a core ingredient in many petrochemical companies and processes. So replacing gray hydrogen with green hydrogen also in these processes will be absolutely key to achieve what we're here to achieve. So fully agree. I'm in for the car as well. So I do my 60,000 kilometers per year, and not ready, not a hydrogen car ready for that kind of driving pattern, but. I'm also very keen to see myself in a car and on a plane flying on hydrogen and on a ship fueled by hydrogen. So I'm all in.
Well, I'm waiting for the first music festival because I'm a music lover to replace the noisy diesel generators, so we can have a silent music experience without the exhaust and things like that. I want to see Guns N' Roses playing with a hydrogen fuel cell next year.
All right, thank you all for the examples. I have to say my favorite also in the plastics. I mean, this mouse could be made with CO2 renewable hydrogen soon, and also a boat. Would that be cool? Silently emission-free, electricity-driven. I think that would be also super cool. Hey, thank you all for joining in for the nice discussion here. I see that there's a glimpse of hope that the hydrogen can play an important role in decarbonizing our society in the future. And Nordics has huge potential that we can leverage through this. So thank you all for joining in, and thanks. Back to you, Klas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jukka, and all the panelists. Such interesting to hear about the hydrogen, and it's a very young industry, but it really needs to mature and grow up quickly. It sounds like, and fun with all the exciting applications also. To conclude these Nordic energy talks, I would just like to say a big thank you to all the panelists and moderators and participants here, and also my fellow colleagues for arranging this. For my part, I found it very interesting, and a lot of important messages have been raised from the industry that I think really needs to be voiced. I know that we are already over time, but for those who have the opportunity to hang in there for a few more minutes, I would just like to end with a few words before we leave. As been mentioned earlier, the Nordics is for Sweden a very important trading partner, and that goes both ways, I think, between the Nordic countries and across our markets. It's a extended home market for Swedish companies and a stepping stone for our Nordic companies out into global markets. And as we've heard today, it will provide enormous business opportunities also going forward. With huge amounts of investments. We heard Fingrid talking about 25 billion just for the grid, and then we have all the hydrogen, renewable energy, etc., on top of that. We also heard from PowerCell that the sector will grow 3 to 5 times faster than the average GDP nationwide. So there will clearly be a lot of need for new technologies and business models. And I think it's also very powerful to hear from the panelists today that what we need is speed, ambition, task-focused roadmaps, and also leadership, but not least collaboration to get us to where we want to be in 2030. We also have to be mindful about the challenges and the risks, and to overcome these challenges, the message from our side is to keep collaborating in the Nordics. We really believe in Nordic collaboration, and we will continue to working with this in our promotion activities for next year, and hope that we can facilitate more of this collaboration going forward. Full speed ahead. We have a lot of work to do apparently in the Nordics in the energy sector to reach the climate goals, but also a lot of opportunities, and this is really a positive change we're aiming for. So thank you all again for participating and listening in, and talk to you soon. And in the meantime, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Thank you.
Believe it or not, the sustainability shift is on. Many of you all around the world are working hard to make this happen. Thank you. Together, we can pave new ways forward.